What offering did the Lord want Israel to make to him? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Exodus on walking through the Bible.
Of his word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Exodus 25. We're going to be reading from verses 1 to 9. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Exodus 25, beginning at verse 1. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering. From everyone who gives it willingly with his heart, you shall take my offering. And this is the offering which you shall take from them: gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen, and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, badger skins, and acacia wood, oil for the light, and spices for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, onyx stones, and stones to be set in the ephod and in the breastplate. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show you, that is, the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all its furnishings, just so you shall make it. In this chapter, we begin our 7-chapter record of what Moses received on top of Mount Sinai. When it comes to thinking about the children of Israel at Mount Sinai, this is the event that we often remember, even though what is about to be described here in these chapters resembles very little of what we remember. That's because the children of Israel had been here at Mount Sinai for a period of time before Moses actually goes up to the top of Mount Sinai. God had already orally given them the 10 Commandments, even though they would be written on stone in this section of Exodus. God had already made his covenant with Israel and affirmed it with the blood of the sacrifice back in chapter 24, even though more of God's law had yet to be revealed. What we're going to be reading about in these next 7 chapters has to do with how to make the tabernacle, the altar, and the other holy things that would be used to worship God. Now, lest we think that knowing about these things is unimportant, since we don't have a physical temple today, think again. We're going to see how a detailed pattern God has given Israel to follow in order to please him. In this present age, you may have many religious people think that they can create their own pattern of worship and be pleasing to God. Such simply is not the case. God has given us a New Testament pattern of worship that he wants us to follow, so by studying this Old Testament pattern, we can know just how closely God expects us to obey his revealed will. In verse 1, we find that God desired an offering from Israel. Did God require an offering in order to make all the things required to worship him? No, he could have simply spoken the tabernacle into existence along with everything in it. But that wouldn't have given Israel the opportunity to show their love for him by sacrificing of themselves in order to worship God. That's an attitude that we need to have as well. God doesn't expect the impossible of us, but he does demand a sacrifice or an offering, whether it is of our money or our time or our effort, in order to show our love and devotion to him. Let's remember, though, that God doesn't need these things in order to be God, for he is God no matter what, but he is deserving of our sacrifices for what he has done for us. Notice one thing about this offering, though, that it was to be a willing sacrifice from their heart. Yes, the offering was commanded of God. Otherwise, how would the children of Israel know to make it? But this offering was to be willing. Why? Because God doesn't need our offering. He will not accept an offering given because we think we have to. He will not accept an offering that was given in order to receive the praise of men. He desired an offering that was made willingly from the heart because the person generally desired to accomplish the will of the Lord. In the case of Israel, this offering would be made so that the tabernacle and the holy things could be made. Today, though, according to 2 Corinthians 9, verse 7, we're to offer a willing sacrifice so that the gospel can be spread and the needy among the saints be taken care of. Both in the Old and New Testaments, a willing offering was required so that we could show our love and devotion to the Lord, and so that the Lord could use our offering in the accomplishment of his will. The offering that God required would be as follows: gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen, and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, badger skins, and acacia wood, oil for the light, and spices for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, onyx stones, and stones to be set in the ephod and the breastplate. If you recall back to Exodus 12, 35 and 36, everything that the Lord asked here for an offering, with the exception of the acacia wood, would be items that they left Egypt with. Again, we see that God was not asking for an offering of things that they did not have. He asked for an offering of things they had. Also notice that he didn't require that each person gave all that they had, but a portion of what they had. God didn't ask for too much. He asked for a portion of what he had blessed them with. Verse 8 said that the children of Israel were to make a sanctuary so that God could dwell among them. That is not to say, though, that when this sanctuary was built that God left heaven and only was found in the sanctuary. For Paul said in Acts 17:24 that God does not dwell in temples made with hands. What it means is that when built according to the pattern, this sanctuary would be where God would meet Israel. This sanctuary was to be made according to the pattern set out by God, showing us that Moses didn't get to make choices as to what God was going to tell him. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Exodus 25, verses 10 to 16, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
I'm not ashamed.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.